Could it be? Me, your man, Louis T. Welcome to Rep Your Squad week number 7 edition. And week 7 was interesting. A couple of games went in totally different directions that I did not expect. I was right on a few games that I thought could go either way. I'll talk about my most disappointing performance. You could argue it's the Eagles on Sunday night versus the Cowboys. But for me, the most disappointing and probably the most impressive were in the same game. I take that back. The most disappointing outing of week 7 for me was the Chicago Bears at home coming off of a bye versus New Orleans. I get it. Granted, New Orleans 5-1 on the season, undefeated with Teddy Bridgewater in the lineup, all that good jazz. No Alvin Kamara, no Jared Cook Jr., and you're coming off of a bye week. You get your starting quarterback back in Mitchell Trubisky. You had over a week to prepare, really 2 weeks to prepare and install a game plan that was going to be successful versus the Saints. And you come out, you give it up on special teams. You get a touchdown in return on special teams, but offensively, you're anemic. You don't run the football enough. You turn it over, and you just were outclassed in your own building. And that just can't happen if you're serious about being a contender in the NFC conference. And then conversely, the most impressive performance, you could argue, are those same Saints in that game. But for me, it's the Ravens on the road at Seattle to go on the road in that environment and win. And a lot of people have counted out the Baltimore Ravens, said that they can't throw the football, they can't do this, they can't do that. And just 3 weeks ago, they were down. They had just lost to the Chiefs, and everyone was talking about how this offense wasn't going to be able to sustain itself, and they weren't going to be able to do this, they weren't going to be able to do that. The defense isn't the same, and it's not. I'm going to grant you that. The defense is not the same as it was last year, and they got all these injuries now to the defensive side of football, and they're not going to be able to sustain themselves throughout the course of the year. 3 weeks later, a couple of trades later, all of a sudden now, Marcus Peters is now part of their roster. He gets a pick 6 in his first game in Baltimore. Welcome to Baltimore, Marcus Peters. And they go on the road to Seattle and really dominate the Seahawks in a way that the Seahawks haven't been dominated at home in quite some time. That was really impressive. Lamar Jackson running the football has been impressive all season long. It was impressive yet again. And so to me, that was the most impressive performance of week number 7. Throw the Dallas Cowboys in there, throw the New Orleans Saints in there if you like. Those were all impressive performances in games that you thought would be a lot more competitive than they were. But for me, the Cowboys are out. They were at home. That's family business, but they were at home. For me, the Saints and the Baltimore Ravens, both on the road in hostile environments, able to do what they were able to do, were some of the most impressive performances of week number 7. So I want to turn over the discussion to you guys, though. I don't want to hog up all the airtime. I talk quite enough on this channel. So now I want to turn it over to you guys. The phone number is on the screen in front of you. Call in, rep your squad, talk about your team in any capacity that you like. If you want to take it to the draft because your team stinks already, I'm all for it. Rep your squad. You want to talk about how disappointed you are in your team. You want to talk about how excited you are in your team. You want to talk about what happened in week 7 with your team. You want to talk about the overall micro view of your team, or macro view, of your team. You want to talk about the micro view of your team in just this week. I'm here for it. So call in. The number is on the screen. Looking forward to hearing from you guys in terms of repping your squad. Until then, until we get some calls in, got some comments here on the channel. So I'm going to go ahead and read from those. We start the night with Mandalorian Legion, who says, if you were a Bills fan, would you be worried about the Dolphins game, or was it just being rusty from the bye? Look, a win's a win in the National Football League. I would not be worried. You're going to have close calls like that against this is the thing you have to understand. And I know you being a Bills fan, you're not accustomed to being the hunter. You're accustomed to you're not accustomed to being the hunted. You're accustomed to being the hunter. So you don't know what it's like to be in this position. But trust me, the Patriots don't apologize for barely beating a team that everyone thought they were going to trounce. They just move on to the next game. You're going to have games where you just don't have it, where you don't play your best brand of football. But guess what? The good teams, and this is what differentiates the good teams from the average teams to the below average teams in the league, You find a way to win. All right, you improve on your mistakes with a win. That's what you were able to do. And also, keep in mind, that's family business. You throw the records out the window. I got a call. I'm going to go ahead and take it, but we'll come back to that statement that you made. You're on live with your man, Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
What's up, Lou? This is KT, the Southern Gent. Just saying a big who that shout out to you.
Hey, what's going on, KT, man? Who that, man? And rep your squad, bruh.
I'm repping for the Saints, who that nation. I know it's water under the bridge, but, man, Michael Thomas has been as good as advertised and everything you said he would be. Now if we could get him a tag team partner, we'd be doing great.
Yeah.
But Teddy B is killing it.
Mm-hmm.
Our defense has shocked me.
Yeah.
And the scary part is we get Drew back after a bye. So the NFC may be in trouble.
Drew said he would like to come back this week. He really wants to get back in the lineup. And, you know, he's suffering from the same thing we see with these veteran quarterbacks that feel like their spot is being taken when they miss time. Brady did the same thing when Jimmy G was in, when the suspension happened. Yeah. He wants to get back as soon as possible. He doesn't want people to forget who he is. No one's forgetting who you are, Drew. This team is yours. When you come back, he's just keeping the seat warm for you. I've been thoroughly impressed with two things. You mentioned both of them. The play of Teddy Bridgewater. Nobody thought that this team would be able to go undefeated. Right now, they're currently 5-0 with Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback. And some tough environments at Seattle, which the first start he had, I gave him zero chance of winning that game. And the formula looked exactly the same this past week on the road at Chicago, another game that I thought you were going to lose, in which the special teams contributed, the defense forced a turnover early in the game, and the offense just continues to just mosey on along. No Alvin Kamara, no Jared Cook Jr., doesn't matter. You run the football with Latavius Murray, and the L train went over 100 yards in this game. Teddy B doesn't turn it over. He manages the game well. I've been thoroughly impressed with this defense, as you just mentioned, probably more so than Teddy, because I didn't think this defense was going to be as good as they've been this season. I thought they had a chance to be good. They've been elite this season. And if they play like that for the remainder of the year, if they're able to continue to replicate this week after week, you've got to think that the Saints are one of the best teams, not just in the NFC, but in the entire league. And you get Drew back, and all of a sudden the offense is able to be a little bit more explosive and dynamic. Look out for the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to end the call. I just wanted to give two shout-outs before I let go, and I'll give you a quick laugh before I let you go. Seems like every time I comment with you, I get a new member to the family. I want to give a shout-out to my brother-in-law, Mark. I'm sorry about the Skins. He's a Redskins fan as well, but I wanted to give a welcome to the world shout-out to my first nephew, MJ.
All right, man. First nephew, MJ, shout out, bruh. It's all good, man. So, hey, continue to rep your squad, and you guys are playing some outstanding football. Let's see if you guys can keep it up, man. Have a good one, bro. So, the Saints, red hot. Man, I've been so impressed with them and their defense. It's been utterly ridiculous to start out this season. And again, who would have thought that 6 weeks after Drew Brees went down, we'd be talking about the Saints undefeated with Teddy Bridgewater at the helm. I didn't see it coming, and I don't think many of you out there as fans, not even New Orleans Saints fans, could have thought that it would have gone this well with Teddy Bridgewater in the lineup and Drew Brees out of it. But back to Mandalorian Legion's comment about beating the Dolphins by 10 and having it be a close game. Look, again, the Dolphins, are with Ryan Fitzpatrick in the lineup, they're going to scare some teams, and eventually they're going to beat someone if Ryan Fitzpatrick remains the quarterback. That's family business, though. You throw the records out of the window, they're going to be competitive, especially against teams that they know very well. So you shouldn't feel bad about that win. You shouldn't be alarmed by it. I actually thought that it was a well-played game on both sides. I thought the Dolphins did some good things. The Bills did some good things. You should be more encouraged than anything else. Josh Allen looked really good in that football game, especially when you needed him too late. He came up with some clutch throws, and that throw to John Brown was an absolute frozen rope. He's coming along, man. You should be ecstatic that you're 5-1. And you should be ecstatic that you found a way, when you didn't play your best brand of football, to still come out with a 10-point victory at the crib. No apologies there if I'm a Bills fan at all whatsoever. You're on live with your man Louis T. Who am I speaking with? Hello? Just missed him. Anyhow, Aldine Adkins, my man Double A says, Kirk is coming for your Redskins. Can't wait till Thursday. Indeed, you guys are coming for us, and I expect it to be very, very ugly. You'll get no complaints nor resistance from me on that front. I'm just hoping that, like the Bears did on a Monday night a few weeks ago, you just take it easy on us. The Bears jumped out to a 28-0 lead, and then they took their foot completely off the gas pedal and made the game look a lot more respectable than what it really was at 31-15. I'm just asking that you find it somewhere in the corner of your heart to have a little bit of pity on my Redskins and allow us to just look respectable and not like one of the laughing stocks of the NFL. So I greatly appreciate that. But if you want to beat us up, 37-3 or 41-10, by all means, knock yourself out. I don't have a problem with that either. But I'm just asking nicely, on behalf of the Redskins, if you would just take it a little easy on us. You're on live with your man Louis T. Who am I speaking with? Okay, another person calling in and not quite hanging in there to get on the show. KT, the Southern gent, says, is Michael Thomas making a case for being a top 3 receiver? I guarantee you, if you poll 10 different people, Michael Thomas may show up in 3 or 4 of those top 3 lists of those 10 people. I mean, it's obviously beauty is in the eye of the beholder, especially when you're talking wide receiver. He doesn't have the speed of some of the elite guys, but if you're talking about working the underneath to intermediate routes, going over the middle field, doing all the dirty work, making the tough contested catches, but also running some crisp routes and creating separation. All of these things Michael Thomas does. And so for me, he's in that discussion. I don't think he's top 3 in this league. He's definitely top 10, arguably top 5. But I think there are other guys that are above him when you're talking about the top 3 receivers in this league. But make no mistake about it, he's definitely top 7, top 5. If I sat down and made a list, I think he'd probably be right around 5, 6, somewhere in there, if I had to guess. There aren't many better than him in this league. I can assure you of that. That is for certain. What up, Protect Sports? Mo L says, if we pick top 3, you think we trade back, get more picks, or do we chase Young, the best offensive tackle available? Hard to really say. When you're in the top 3, that means you have a lot of needs. Generally, you're not picking in the top 3 and you only need 1 or 2 positions. As a Redskin fan, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. We have a plethora of needs. So trading back is cool, but I want to make sure I'm getting elite stuff. One of the biggest issues the Redskins have at this current juncture is that we don't have enough elite players. So while I hear you wanting to trade back and acquire more picks and fill more holes, I also want to get elite players. And you get elite players by drafting in the top 10 of the draft. You assure yourself of having a greater chance of landing an elite player. You don't have to necessarily get an elite player from the top 10 of the draft. We see guys every year, like a Darius Leonard in last year's draft, who was drafted in the 2nd round. We see elite players be drafted all around the draft board. But I'm just telling you, you want to give yourself the best chance to land yourself in Ezekiel Elliott or Von Miller or Aaron Donald or one of these types of guys. You want to make that selection in the top 15 picks, generally speaking. Really, if you can, in the top 10. And the Redskins are going to have a top 10 pick for sure. I can't necessarily say they're going to have a top 3 pick or even a top 5 pick. They could win 4 games the remainder of the season, go 5-11 and end up with the 7th or 8th pick in the draft. But bottom line is, I'm not a huge fan of trading back, especially when there's elite prospects on the board. I want the elite prospect. I want to improve my team with that elite prospect. So that's what I would do if I were the Redskins. You're on live with your man Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, this is Vlad. How you doing, C?
What's going on, Vlad? Long time no hear from, man.
Yeah, good to hear from you too, dude. So I've been looking into this Falcons team, and man, this is horrible.
Yeah, man. I talked about that on the program last week, that they're probably, and I talked about it on my podcast. To me, they're the most disappointing team of 2019 thus far.
100%.
agree. Like, it's insane to me because on paper our talent is like crazy, but dude, this coaching staff, like, we need to just clean top to bottom, just to be, scorched earth. You know what I mean?
Yep. And let me ask you this while I got you here. There's been a lot of speculation with the bad start to the season that they're going to start offloading players. Vic Beasley and Mohamed Sanu and all of these guys could potentially be on the trading block. Do you think that these guys may actually be traded before the trade deadline?
Honestly, Sanu, I definitely could see going. I see there's only about 6, maybe 7 players on this team that are basically like untouchable. Pretty much that would be like Matt Ryan, Julio, Jake Matthews, Deion Jones, Grady Jarrett, those type of players.
Right.
I'd even throw like Austin Hooper
in
there on that list because he's been killing it this year.
He has. Quietly, he's been one of the best pass-catching, not just tight ends, but just receivers in general in the league this season. He's been phenomenal. And I've up until Sunday, I've said it really hasn't been the offense that's been the problem. It's really been the defense. And it was.
And that's really been the core of it.
Yep.
And as much as Falcon fans may not want to hear this, I think actually having this horrendous season would be more beneficial to us in the long run, just because I make this argument all the time that right behind quarterback, if you don't have a premier, like, number one pass rusher, because me personally, like, the 3 most important spots on the team is definitely the quarterback, obviously, your primary pass rusher, and then, like, right behind that would be, like, your left tackle.
Correct.
And that's the thing about this team is we've been missing that premier pass rusher since, Abraham.
Right.
And until we actually find that, I just don't think we're even going to be in the consideration for, like, even a top 5, even a top 10 team until we get that pass rush straight.
I'm with you 110%. I see it the same way you do. Quarterback, pass rusher, and tackle. And, what's funny is that the year you went to the Super Bowl in 2016, it was amazing because Vic Beasley went off that year. But if you actually looked at those sacks,
it was false.
Right.
It was a facade.
Right. It wasn't like he was just beating dudes right off the line of scrimmage like he was at Clemson. It was a lot of coverage sacks. It was a lot of second, third effort sacks, stunts where he would come completely free and untouched. And then to make matters worse, a lot of times they got him dropping in the coverage. I'm not saying he's elite by any stretch of the imagination, but he can't get to the quarterback if he's dropping in the coverage. I mean,
that's my whole thing too, and it's like I don't really understand what the problem is, because I'm not gonna lie, when we got our hands on Beasley, I was pumped that year. Like, I thought, like, our pass rusher problems were done, taken care of. Like, that was it. Like, this has been the biggest disappointment, in recent memory as far as this team goes, for a player at least.
Yep. And you doubled down on it because I never liked Tack McKinley. This was coming out of UCLA. And you doubled down on having, to me, an average rusher by going out and spending another first-round pick on Tack McKinley.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, dude, like, I'm under the impression right now, like, I'm actually hoping we can get a top 5 pick, preferably a top 3 pick. So I'm just looking, like, me personally, like, when I saw Chris Lindstrom go down with that broke foot, that was like the omen there was like just horrible.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just had a bad feeling from there on out. So as of right now, like, I've been around on Twitter, and I've been basically putting this hashtag out there, embrace for Chase.
I saw that.
I'm just being real with you. Like, until we get that pass rush, this team's going to be mediocre at best, because one side of the ball will show up, and then the other side will let the other side down. So at the end of the day, you become a mediocre team. Even if your offense is amazing, if your defense is giving up 27 points, what does it matter?
All right, let me ask you this. This is my last question, and I'm gonna let you run.
I do.
All right. My sister, as you know, is a Falcons fan.
Oh, yeah.
Her biggest thing, even since the beginning of this season, even in the last year, was we should have never fired Marquell Manuel. That's been her thing. She's not getting off that hill. She's going to die on that hill. How do you agree with that, or do you think that this defense is just flawed, and whether he was here or not, it'd be still struggling to this day?
As far as Marquell Manuel goes, I don't think they ever should have promoted him to defensive coordinator. I think his home was basically in that secondary. as far as firing him as a defensive coordinator, yeah, we definitely should have got rid of him. As a secondaries coach, where I thought he should have stayed, he was good.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, like as far as the whole Sark situation too. I honestly think, me personally, I think Sark was a better coach than Coder is.
Yeah, well,
I like Sark better than Coder. When I heard that we were actually getting Coder back, because I was on the Garrett Kubiak train.
Yeah,
like I wanted him above anybody in this league in here coaching our offense,
right.
And he ended up going elsewhere.
Yep.
That was kind of heartbreaking, and then it doubled down when I heard we got Coder. I'm like, oh, what are we doing?
Yeah. But that's how this league is, man. Coaches hire their friends.
How it goes,
man.
Right?
Yep. Coaches hire their buddies and people that they know and that they've worked with in the past, and a lot of times that doesn't always mean you're going to get the best semblance of talent.
Yeah, man. But I mean, you can always hope, but you got to temper your expectations, right?
Absolutely.
I got a quick question for you, though.
Sure.
What do you think your top need for the Redskins is currently?
I'm right there with you. I want Chase Young, brother. So you're gonna have to fight me for him.
I can't even blame you. Like, I was watching him at Ohio State, and I'm like, man, Ohio State's just, I don't know what they got in the water up there, but they're producing these freaking pass rushers. Yeah,
man. I mean, the Bozas both came from there. Even Hubbard he's not elite by any stretch of the imagination, but I love his motor in Cincinnati. Watching him, Chase Young to me looks like a game changer, and
exactly.
I would love to add him to the mix. In
How you
Washington.
like that left tackle at Georgia?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have been talking about Andrew, but you know what? And the Redskins may be in the market for that next year. Not maybe, they're going to be in the market for a left tackle. I don't know.
Yeah,
I gotta watch some more.
I can't even blame you. I feel you. I can't even blame you.
I mean, you took a couple of offensive linemen in the first round this year, man. It's tough to do that, but you gotta do it.
Like, it's not sexy, but it's necessary.
Yeah, you gotta do it. You gotta do it. So, hey, man, Vlad, I appreciate you blessing the program, man. Great chopping it up with you. Thanks for repping your squad.
Great hearing from you and talking to you too, dude.
No doubt.
Hey, take care.
Likewise. So that's the new hashtag now. Embrace for Chase, man. That's I don't know if the Redskins would go in that direction though, to be honest with you, but the Falcons definitely could go in that direction, for sure. Long way from the draft, and you win some games, and I think the Falcons are going to win some games, Redskins are going to win some games, and you're going to look up and you're not going to be in the position to take a Chase Young, But right now where we sit, both of those teams are jockeying for the 2, 3, 4 spot somewhere in there. So we'll see what happens. You're on live with your man Louis T. Who am I speaking with? Hello? Hello? All right. Let's see. Just Andre says, so if the Skins don't start Hapskin, okay, we got another call. I'm going to take that comment after this call. You're on live with your man Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
That's your boy Tones, man. What's good, Lou?
What's going on, Tones, man? Rep your squad, bro.
Hey, you already know what the squad is, man. ATTR, man. You know how you rocking, man. Win, lose, or draw, ATTR, hail to the beloved Redskins, man.
All right, that's what's up, man. So
it's tough to be a Redskin fan these days, man. I ain't gonna lie to you, boy.
Look, man, we've been here before. That's the bad part.
J. Lou?
No, I said we've been here before, man. That's the bad part. Is we almost like it? It's almost like we at home here, man. It's rough, bro. It's rough.
You ain't lying on that one, Louis. You ain't lying on that one, bro. It feel like home, a home I don't want to live in. Like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, hey, look, man.
Tired of losing, bro.
I hear you, man. But go ahead, say your piece, man.
Look, man, I'm just tired of it, bro. I need Bruce Allen to get the hell out of town. Like, I just need him out of town. I think you fire Bruce Allen. Tones. Bring some football guys in the room.
Tones, brother.
Know what the hell they doing.
Tones, you got to understand the man is not going anywhere. He's not.
I know.
You have got to switch your focus, because if you're waiting on that ship to depart, you'll be waiting for a mighty long time. A wise man once said, "Forever is a mighty long time, man." You might be waiting for a very, very long time, man. I wouldn't wait on Bruce Allen's departure if I were you. Just saying.
I'm gonna ask you a question. Then.
Yep.
I'm gonna ask you this. We both Redskins fans, right?
Correct.
Let's just say the Redskins do not win another game this year.
Mm-hmm.
You think he's still the team president?
Yeah.
We could go 1-15.
Yeah.
We go 1-15.
Yeah. I had a caller 2 weeks ago on this show ask me the very same question, or it might have been the Redskins Nightly News, that said, if we go 1-15, and at that time 0-16 was still on the table. So he asked me 0-16. I said, I still don't think Bruce would get fired. And 1-15, I still don't think Bruce would get fired. And I played you the audio on the Redskins Nightly News last week with Jay Glazer pretty much saying he doesn't care how bad it gets this season. He can't see Bruce Allen being fired. He's like, that's Dan's, beer and wings guy. Like, that's his homeboy. Like, that's the guy that he counts on for a lot of different things. He wears so many hats in this organization. We may not like him, and we think he's incompetent, but Bruce has Dan believing that this is a guy that can handle business. And so I just don't see it changing right now, unfortunately, because we know that there's better out there, but with Bruce Allen in the building, can't see it.
And I get that. And I think Bruce is actually a good businessman. I'm going to give him that. On the business side of things, I don't think he's had bad. He's just terrible on the football side of things. Mm-hmm. So could he can Dan just erase him from the football thing?
But
let him handle business? That would be nice. That's all I ask.
Tony, you're warped. Your thinking is warped if you think that Bruce is going to be in the building not handling any of the personnel or any of the football operations, but he's still not going to be in Dan's ear, telling him what he thinks and brainwashing Dan. Like, he can't be in the organization for this thing to be healthy. Because if somebody else is getting the credit, a la a Scott McLuhan, for instance, or just throw him out there, how he was getting credit from Redskins fans, Bruce is going to get in Dan's ear and sabotage him. And so, same thing with a new guy. If he comes in here, Mike Tomlin, for instance, comes in here and turns this thing around and everybody's giving Mike Tomlin all the praise and all the credit, Bruce is going to get into Dan's ear and he's going to start telling him nonsense, and all of a sudden, you're going to see this thing erode. So, even if he's not handling the personnel and the football responsibilities, he's still in the building, which means he still has a voice, which means he still has a chance to have this thing crumble from within.
I agree. He just has to go.
Period.
There's no way he's going to go. So
period.
I don't know, man. It's just tough watching it. It's hard. It's hard, bro. It's really hard.
I totally understand, man.
But I have advice for all Redskins fans. That's what I want to call. If you are a diehard Washington Redskins fan, I know it's tough for me to say this, but find an AFC team you like also and please root for them, because we're not going nowhere anytime soon. We're just not.
Hey, Tones, are you promoting having two teams? If you are, I gotta hang up on you.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Tones.
I'm sorry.
You gotta get off. You gotta get off my line, Tones. You cannot have two teams. You gotta get off my line.
This has something you can watch. A team you like to watch.
Hey, and look, there is nothing wrong with admiring teams from afar. I recommend that. That's why I always tell Redskins fans, I am a football fan first. But you cannot have another team. There was a dude talking that nonsense. I'm a Dolphins fan and I'm a Redskins. Like, dude, you can't be both. And he was serious. And I'm like, okay, I can't have this conversation with you. So,
I get what you're saying, though. But at least have a team you like to watch. If you like, all right, cool, I can watch these guys, cool. Or just something to heal up the wound of terrible Redskins football. Just something to heal you a little bit. Something. Because this is bad. This is bad, Luke.
Hey, Toes, man, I appreciate you calling in, man.
Oh, man.
Hey, have a good one, bro. And hey, you are killing it content-wise, bro. Continue to kill it. I've been trying to watch as many of your videos, liking them. Man, you've been hot lately, boy. Keep it up, man. It's a lot of good stuff coming out of your channel.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
No doubt.
Man. That's much love, bro. Thank you, man. I have more content coming, man. So I'm going to keep it going for you, Lou, man. And thank you. Hey, man. You keep doing you. You want to call for 12K, man. Keep grinding, bro.
Hey, definitely.
Yeah,
you know the grind don't stop, bro.
I'm gonna give you a shout out, bro, because you've been grinding, bro. Like I've seen you grind for like 5.5, 6 years now. You keep it up, bro.
I definitely will,
for
man.
all the smallest YouTubers, man.
Yes,
Much love.
no doubt, bro. None at all, man. You take it easy.
You too, big bro. Take it easy, Jay.
No doubt. So that's Tones giving a word of advice to Redskins fans out there that I do not endorse. I am Louis T, and I do not endorse that message, okay? You are free to watch games all across the league. I endorse that sentiment. Yes, watch other teams so you can know what real football is supposed to look like, so you can know what this team is missing. But you cannot like another team. I'm not giving you the keys to go and like another team. No. You're on live with your man Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Yo.
Hello?
Yeah.
Who am I speaking with?
Oh, damn.
What's going on, man? Rep your squad.
So what do you think about Haskins starting week 9?
That's the plan for me. I mean, I talked about it on the Redskins Nightly News tonight. That's been my goal all along. Is Haskins after this quick turnaround? You got 10 days off before we play the Buffalo Bills in Orchard Park. It's a road game. I talked all about it on the Redskins Nightly News, so I won't elaborate on it here. But that's, if I were in charge, that's where the target date would be for me, week 9 at Buffalo.
All right. So would you rather draft Andrew Thomas or Chase Young?
This is the thing. How many quality tackles are there out there? Can I find a tackle in the second round? Because I can tell you this much. You're not going to find another Andrew Young, you're not going to find another Chase Young in the second round. Those don't grow on trees. So the question is, can I find a tackle? Because there are tackles littered around this league that were not first-round picks. Teron Armstead in New Orleans, Cam Robinson in Jacksonville. The list goes on and on. I could go on in Tampa Bay with the kid out of Penn State. He's a second-round pick. There's a number of teams that have found second-round starting left tackles, third-round starting left tackles. You can find tackles if you're good enough and if you think that guy can play. What you're not going to find is elite pass rushers. So you get where I'm going with that.
All right. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Cool beans, man. Appreciate you. So that's my sentiment, is that I'm not saying that left tackles grow on trees, but you're more likely to find a starting caliber left tackle elsewhere than you are in a Myles Garrett or a Von Miller or an Aaron Donald. Those guys go in the top 10, top 15. Aaron Donald slipped through the cracks. All right, but he still went like 11th overall, okay, to the then St. Louis Rams. But those guys that I'm naming, the Myles Garrett, number 1 overall, Jadeveon Clowney, number 1 overall, those guys don't grow on trees, and you do not find those guys 35th overall in the draft or 67th in the draft or 97th in the draft. Generally, you want one of those guys, you're probably going to have to take him in the top 10. And that's why I'm more along the lines of, I'll try to find another tackle, but you can't find another Chase Young. You're on live with your man, Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, what's good, Louis? JC from Newport News.
What's going on, JC? Rep your squad.
Hey, what's up, man? I'm repping the Redskins all day.
Right.
I just want to say, me and my girl watch you all the time. We love everything. Her name Malia Kearney. She got my baby coming and all that stuff. I'm happy.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Congrats, man.
But yeah, thank you so much. I just wanted to say, what is your thoughts on? I didn't tune in soon enough, but what are your thoughts on Santana Moss's comments on the team with Jay Gruden not being the leader of men, and everything he explains on that about the coaches not really knowing what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And you can kind of see some of that with how we're playing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't really play coherent all the time. Like, you can kind of see what he's really talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I just want us to be more optimistic as Redskins fans. I see us like really tearing down the whole squad and stuff. If Dwayne Haskins is okay or come out half good, we got Terry McLaurin, we got Darius Geis to look up, we got Jonathan Allen. I mean, we got pieces. So I just want us to be more optimistic as a fan base. family. And appreciate and love you, everything you're doing, man.
Hey, man, appreciate you, JC, man. Be easy. And once again, congratulations, bro.
Thank you.
No doubt. So let me get this super chat, and then I'm going to come back to what JC had to say. Got a super chat. Really appreciate you, Skins fan, all day. He says, how funny is it that Flowers is one of our best offensive linemen and Moses is trash juice? It just happens that way sometimes. Now, Moses hasn't been trash juice, but he hasn't been great. And I understand where he's coming from. We killed Flowers. I talked about this on the Redskins Nightly News last week, how we were just crucifying Flowers in the preseason, and he turns out to be one of our better offensive linemen this year. Meanwhile, a guy that's supposed to be a leader on the team and Morgan Moses has been at times subpar. So I totally see where Skins fan all day is coming from for sure. And once again, thank you for the super chat. Got a call, gonna go ahead and take it. You're on live with your man Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Lorenzo from New York.
What's going on, Lorenzo, man? Rep your squad.
Hail to the Redskins, baby.
All right. Talk to me.
So I'm sitting there listening to Bill Callahan's press conference,
Mm-hmm.
and he talked about how proud he was of the team. And I sat there getting angry at the world, listening to him talk BS about how mediocre this team is, and he's proud of them.
Mm-hmm.
The veterans on this team ain't getting the job done.
Mm-hmm.
It's time let the kids play. Not just Dwayne Haskins. I'm talking about Calvin Harmon's with a team. The Troy Apke's a team. The kids that we've been hitting on for a long time that don't play meaningful games. I'm tired of watching Morgan Moses on the field doing a false start, not throwing out the ball, just being clueless. I'm sick of it. I don't watch John Christian play. I don't watch all the Cam Sims play. I'm tired of seeing Paul Richardson go in the field and not do nothing. I'm sick of it. And the more I watch, the more embarrassed I become to be a fan. And I've been a fan since I was a little boy, grew up in Maryland, with my grandmother when they were actually decent. And I've been dealing with 20 years of nonsense. I see no end in sight, and I'm over it.
Yeah. I hear you, Lorenzo. So, you probably speak for a lot of Redskins fans when you say, I'm over it, and I want to see the young guys play. I want to see guys that are probably going to be a part of the future and building blocks of the foundation that will help turn this thing around. But at the end of the day, the loyalty for these coaches lies with these players that put in the work. And again, as fans, we're not there every day. We don't care anything about that. We know this season is over, but you can't tell the guys in the locker room that. So they're going to put the guys on the field that gives them the best chance to win. And so
when you say that, I'm watching that game yesterday, and I remember I'm sitting on the couch, and it's 3rd and 8, 7 minutes after the fourth quarter. You put the ball in the hands of Stevenson, who I like, by the way, don't get me wrong.
Right.
He's a nice young player.
Yep.
But it's 3rd and 8. The game's on the line right here. You got to have it.
Right.
It's 8 yards to go. You put the ball in his hands opposed to the quarterback, who's the starter. He's not hurt. He's not the backup. He's the starter of the team. You don't trust him with the ball?
Right.
Why is he on the field?
I'm 110% with you. And I'll take it a step further. And I talked about this on the R3 yesterday, and I talked about it again on the Redskins Nightly News tonight, is if that's the case, if you want to put it in a skill guy's hand, why not Terry McLaurin? Okay? Why not the guy that is proven to you that he's the best player that we have right now on the offensive side of the football? Why not get it to him on a bubble screen? Get some blockers out in front of him and see if he can't make a play. I mean, that's the thing that was so frustrating about watching the game yesterday.
I'm proud of the defense for the first time all season long, and probably maybe 2 years. I'm actually proud of them. They put this team in a chance to put up 7 points. Now, granted, AP fumbles. It happened. It's a wet, slippery day out there.
Yep.
But I'm looking at 3rd and 8 like this is the ball game. What are you doing?
Yep. Yeah, I felt the same exact way. And even on the first possession, when it was 3rd and 5, or I think it might have even been 3rd and 7, when they did the shovel pass to Steven Sims on a drive that went that far and got you that far down the field, that's how you try to convert 3rd and 7? Like, seriously? That's what we're doing?
And I'm sitting there, I'm like, growing up with telephones, calling the plays. I don't know how much influence Callahan has on him on what plays to call, but if that's what's going to run on 3rd and 8, that's not a coach I want going forward. That's not what I want.
I talked about that on the Redskins Nightly News, too. So I'm going to save that for the show tonight. But I had an opinion on that as well, too.
But I'm going to leave you with this before I head out here. So for the upcoming draft, I know it's early in the season for that, but as I've seen a 116, it's something for the future. I'm looking at this team as what we need, which is pretty much best available. However, if the Redskins ended up with the first pick overall, are you keeping that pick or do you trade that away?
Now, here's the thing. Now, let's say the Miami Dolphins. If the Dolphins don't end up with the first pick, then they're going to be the second or the third pick. They're not going to win 4 games this year. I think we can all agree on that. So let's assume that the Dolphins win 2 games. The only way the Redskins get the number 1 pick is if they win 1 game. They don't win any more games this year. And the Dolphins win 2 games. Because I can see the Dolphins winning a game. But if the Redskins and the Dolphins finish tied, the Redskins beat them. So I think that's how that works. It could just go off of the strength of schedule or a coin flip. A lot of times they just do coin flips. But in any event, let's just assume the Redskins get the number 1 pick and the Dolphins get the number 2 pick. Hell yeah, I would trade that pick to the Miami Dolphins. Trade it right to their ass. They'll give us a ton of stuff for that pick if, in fact, they have a quarterback that they want. Because we could threaten, hey, look, if you don't come up here and get this pick, we're going to trade it to somebody else. And so, that's when if you're in that position, then you can start kind of playing musical chairs. I don't want to go that far back, though. Like, I'm not even talking to somebody that's got the 7th pick in the draft. I don't want to go back to 7 because then I'm going to miss out on all the elite guys that potentially, now again, we're so far away. You look at the teams and the matchup, the needs that those teams have, you may still be able to get your guy at 7 and come away with a boatload of picks. You know what I mean? But right now, I want, like you said, best player available. I want elite stuff. So if I'm moving back, I don't want to move back that far because I still want something super elite, and I want to get as much draft capital as I can get. So.
All right. I do appreciate you, bro. I'll see you on that news.
Hey, no problems, though, man. You be easy, bro.
Have a good night.
All right, likewise. So, to go back to my man JC, he asked about the Redskins, and he talked about how it's hard, to be a fan right now, but he wants everyone to be a little bit more optimistic about this team. And he listed a bunch of young players that we have that are building blocks. And one of the guys he mentioned is Darius Geis. How do we know Darius Geis is any good yet? We still don't know that Darius Geis is a part of the solution and not a part of the problem. Right now, I'm on the fence on Darius Geis because it's a lot of talking from Geis, and he can't stay healthy, and that's not his fault. But at the end of this day, the best ability is availability in this league, and Geis has not been available. So hard right now to include him in the list of guys that are a part of the solution, not the problem. You're on live with your man, Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Louis T, the king of broadcasting himself, man. It's LaRon, man.
What's going on, LaRon? Rep your squad,
up,
man. Rep your squad.
Man, Washington Redskins, man. Hey, I don't know why, I ain't going to say the organization, but why do they keep on playing Case Keenum, man? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you why. I don't like the answer, but I can tell you why they're doing it.
Shoot for it, Luke.
I've said this a number of times on the Redskins Nightly News that it's because they view him as the best option to win games. They see him as a veteran that has seen a bunch of NFL defenses, that can make all the calls at the line of scrimmage, can make the proper checks to get everybody in the right position. And they look at the rest of that locker room and they say, we don't want to compromise the other 52 guys on this roster by playing a guy that doesn't give us the best chance to win while we still feel like we're playing for something meaningful. Obviously, we as fans know the season is over. You're 1-6. You ain't playing for nothing meaningful. But as a coach, you can't tell the players that. You got to tell these guys, look, we got to go out here and win. The division is not that great. You look up, last week, if you were a coach in that locker room, the selling point is, hey, guys, we only 2 games back in first place in this division. Now, we all know that's a crock of crap. We ain't making up that ground, and we're not good enough to sustain the level of play that it's going to take to be better than the Cowboys or the Eagles when it's all said and done. But, that's what you preach to the guys in the locker room to keep them believing, to keep them coming to work and having something to work towards. And when you look at every guy in that locker room and to a man and say, who gives us the best chance to win, they're going to probably tell you it's either Case Keenum or Colt McCoy. They're not going to say Dwayne Haskins. So because of that, you don't want to lose the locker room. You got to play the guy that gives you the best chance to win. Now, for me, I don't really give a damn what the player's talking about. You getting a check, and you know where this season is heading. I'm not going to say it out of my mouth, but you know where this is heading. And I'm looking towards the future. And so because of that, I need to evaluate some of these young guys, and no position needs evaluating more so than the quarterback position. So I'm putting in Dwayne Haskins. So that's how I would operate, but that's not how they operate. And I can't beat them up for it because I understand that's how it goes in an NFL locker room.
So, at the beginning of the 49ers game, the run game looked like it was on point. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong.
Okay, so at some point, Darius Geis is going to come back. Do you or do you not think that he will be effective at all?
It's hard to say, man, because with the way we're running the ball now, and I'm still not buying the run game is fixed, because the first week it was the Dolphins, they stink against the run, and week 2 we played in a monsoon. So I still can't definitively say, man, we can run the football. We're going to find out a lot over the next couple of weeks. Geis won't be back until week 11 versus the Jets. We got 2 games between then and now. And it's against 2 of the better defenses in football, Minnesota Vikings and the Buffalo Bills. So I want to see how we run the football against the Vikings. I want to see how we run the football against the Bills. If we're able to run the football effectively against either one of those teams or both of them, then I might be like, hey, man, we on to something here running the football. Maybe Geis could come back, show us a little something, and we could feel really good about him as well.
Okay. If the defense is putting up, I mean, well, you know, I ain't going to say putting up points, but, you know, if the defense is showing out and, you know, the offense was, you know, getting the run game going, not one time, they didn't go to Terry downfield not once.
Yeah. No, now, I get the weather conditions weren't ideal to be taking deep shots, but my problem was just they didn't get it to Terry enough, period. You know what I mean? Like, it's not hard to scheme up a couple of plays to just get it in his hands immediately, get some blockers out in front of him, and see what he's capable of doing. The fact that this is the best player you have and he only gets 2 targets, I said that yesterday on the R3. I said it again tonight on the Redskins Nightly News. That's inexcusable. There's no excuse that you can give me that I will listen to and nod in agreement. Oh, okay, I understand as to why Terry only has 2 targets in any game moving forward. Any game. Not just this game, any game moving forward. If he's not getting 7 or 8 targets, I have a problem with that game plan.
Right. Last thing. Bruce Allen does not want to trade Trent until the end of the season. Clearly, he doesn't want to be a Redskins. Clearly, you're not going to let him play. So why not get a first-round pick right now?
Because Bruce Allen, in his mind, he feels like he can get more value for him in the offseason, which, to me, you're rolling the dice now. I want to roll the dice. I'm a gambler. Let me roll the dice. I'm going to kiss it and hope it comes up nice. I trade him to Cleveland. If Cleveland continues to stink this season, guess what that pick's going to be? A top 15 pick. Now, you wait till the offseason, and Cleveland ends up with the 8th pick in the draft. You think Cleveland's going to trade the 8th pick in the draft for Trent Williams straight up right now? No. They're trading for Trent Williams, a first-round pick for Trent Williams, with the assumption that they're going to be good and that pick's going to end up being the 25th pick in the draft. That's what they're thinking. The Rams traded 2 first-round picks to Jacksonville. Why? Not because they love Jalen Ramsey alone, but because they said, we're going to be good the next 2 seasons. That's going to be the 30th and the 32nd pick in the draft because we're going to win the Super Bowl with Jalen Ramsey. That's their thought process. In the offseason, if the Rams ended up being 7-9 and that's the 15th pick in the draft, they're not trading the 15th pick in the draft for Jalen Ramsey. They're not doing it. They're doing it because they think they can win now, and they think that those picks that they're trading away are going to end up being back into the first-round picks. So if you're Bruce Allen and you think someone's going to trade for Trent Williams and give you the 11th pick in the draft or the 7th pick in the draft, you're sadly mistaken. So his logic is faulty. It's irrational. But, you know, when Bruce is stuck on something, usually it's stuck on stupid, there's no change in his mind.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you, man. Appreciate all your hard work, man, and keep doing your thing, bro.
Hey, no doubt, LaRon, man. Appreciate you chiming in and repping your squad, bro. Be easy.
All right, HTTR.
HTTR, Bray. So, let's get to some comments until we get another call. We got 15 minutes before Monday Night Football is to take place. So if you want to get in, phone lines are open. Get in here before we're out of here. So, just Andre says, so if the Skins don't start Haskins after the bye week, when do you think he starts? At that point, then you start just every week, you got to start asking the question, when does he start? Because to me, the week 12, week 13 is the latest you can start him. If you don't start him by then, if he doesn't get 4 starts under his belt, then what are you doing? Like, to me, 1 or 2 starts doesn't do anything. Doesn't do a damn thing. If he's not getting, at least 4 starts, I prefer him to get 8, which that ship is about to sail. If he's not getting at least 4 starts, then you've done yourself an injustice and him, and you're not going to get anything out of him getting these last 2 or 3 games of the season. You're on live with your man, Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, what's going on, Lou? This is Young Mello.
What's going on, Young Mello, man? Rep your squad, bro.
Hey, keep pounding.
That's right, man.
That is.
All right, so y'all got a big one coming up this week, man. How you feeling coming off the bye week?
I'm not feeling too good against the 49ers. I mean, they got a good defense, but I don't know. I think it'll be a close game, but I don't think we got enough to beat them right now.
I think you're selling your team short, and is that game in Carolina or in San Francisco? It's probably in San Francisco.
I think it's in San Francisco.
I think so because they've been on the road the last 2 weeks, but I think you're selling your team a little short. The 49ers are good, and here's the thing that I said the same thing about the Patriots, because if you look at the 2 teams leading in scoring defense, it's the 49ers and it's the Patriots. But if you look at the teams that those teams have played, you understand why they're leading in scoring defense. They haven't really played anybody. Now, the Rams game, they dominated that game. I'm not going to take anything away from them. And the Rams can score points. They just scored 37 this past week against a really bad Falcons team, granted. But still, I'll give them credit for that. And what they did to the Browns, I'll give them credit for that as well. But you look at the Bengals and the Buccaneers, and the Buccaneers can score too, but that was week 1. That was their first week with Jameis under center with a new head coach. And but they played the Redskins. They played some really bad teams. The Steelers, without Ben Roethlisberger, they played some teams that have been inept offensively. And so that's what has kept that number down. Now, the defense is good. I'm not taking anything away from them. That defense is legit. But you can make plays against that defense too. And so I think if you can just keep Kyle Allen from turning it over. And his biggest problem hasn't been the interception. It's him fumbling the football when he gets hit. That's been his biggest problem. If you can get him to take care of the football, they're going to try to take away Christian McCaffrey. If you can get the ball to McCaffrey out in space, I think you got a shot. It's going to be interesting to see. They're not going undefeated this year. Somebody's going to beat them. And they're going to lose more than one game. Hey, why not y'all in week number 8?
Yeah, about McCaffrey, do you think he's the best running back in the league right now?
Yes, I do. I most certainly do.
I haven't heard anybody say that.
And I'll take it a step further.
I try to say that all the time. And they're like, oh, Saquon Barkley and Zeke. I'm like, if I had to pick, I would take McCaffrey right now.
So here's the thing about Christian McCaffrey. If you're just talking pure running back, you're not talking about receiving the football, you're just talking about in between the tackles, the ability to run, make guys miss, that sort of thing, then yeah, a guy like Zeke would probably, or maybe even Saquon might be better options. But if you're talking all around, all-purpose back, a guy that is a mismatch nightmare that you can split out wide, that can run routes like a receiver, catch the football, that sort of thing, impact the game in more than just one way. And I'm not saying that Zeke Elliott is one-dimensional, but Zeke Elliott, you're not splitting Zeke Elliott out and asking him to break a dude off on a whip route to get open.
Right.
All right? That's not Zeke Elliott's game. He might be able to run a little slant out there or something like that, but he ain't breaking a dude off on a Z out or a whip route and winning and creating 2 yards of separation. That's not Zeke Elliott's game. Alvin Kamara is the closest you'll get to a Christian McCaffrey, and even Alvin Kamara isn't as fluid as a Christian McCaffrey. So for my money, right now, McCaffrey is right there at 1A, 1B with Russell Wilson for MVP. I mean, that's how good the man has been this year.
Yeah, I hear you on that. And what about Brian Burns? Do you think he could be a Pro Bowl type player in a couple years?
Man, I'm so jealous. I wish we would have took Brian Burns, man. I'm not giving up on my young guy, but man, I wanted Brian Burns so bad. I talked about it all draft season. Oh man, he's already got 4.5 sacks. He's gonna get, I think, double digits this year. If he's not, he'll be knocking on the door like 8.5, 9.5. But I could easily see him with 10.5, a dime this year. It would not shock me. And he's so multifaceted. Like, he still doesn't even know what the hell he's doing yet. And he's getting after the quarterback, man. He's going to be a good one for many years to come. You got yourself a really good football player there, man.
Yeah, I don't get a chance to watch a lot of college football, so I really wasn't familiar with who he was. But I listened to the shows you do on the rookie prospect and stuff, and watch videos and stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to see what he can do. And I've been watching all the games this year, and he's looking like one of the best picks of the draft. Yeah,
man, the dude, I wanted him so bad, and that's one of those. Every year, I regret our first round pick because we never take the guy that I want us to take, and the guy that I want us to take is usually still on the board. And this past year's draft at 15, I knew y'all were going to take him at 16 if we didn't take him at 15. And so I knew it wasn't no chance to come back up and get him. And I said, I want Brian Burns, and I knew we were going to take Haskins. So it is what it is, man. But, yep.
All right, Lou, I'm going to get back to work. Thanks for letting me call in.
Hey, no doubt, man. Thank you for repping your squad, young Mello, man. Be easy.
Yeah, you too.
No doubt. So, Ghost Peppers says, or no, KT the Southern Gent says, better fit for my team, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, or Jordan Love. Joe Burrow is a Louisiana kid. Well, I don't know if he's from Louisiana, but he is at LSU. I love the way he plays. I think he'd be a great fit for you. I don't love Jalen Hurts for you. Don't think that's a great fit. Jordan Love could be, but he needs time to adapt to what Sean Payton would ask him to do. Joe Burrow, for me, would be the better option for the Saints if you were in the market for a quarterback. You're on live with your man, Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
What's going on, Louis? JP, how you doing?
What's going on, JP?
Just got off work not too long ago. I got a couple of things to say about my squad. First of all, I honestly have no idea how I should feel about this Redskins team. From a personal standpoint, do you think this might be the worst Washington Redskins team that this organization has put on the field in the last 20 years since Dan Snyder has taken over, or have there been worse Redskins teams?
No, they've been way worse. I mean, 2010, when Shanahan got here the first year, literally of a 53-man roster, I'd say 40 of those players didn't even belong in the NFL. I mean, we've had, and it was amazing. I think we still won 4 games that year. I think we went 4-12. Our team is a lot more talented, but the problem is coaching. And then 2, I think we've been bitten by some of the injury bug and Trent not being here, some of those things. And then you also added to the fact we've played a really tough schedule, too. We've played some good teams. And that's not an excuse. We've had opportunities to win games. We're just not good enough. But this is not this. We've had by far and away worse teams than the one you're seeing this year, from a roster standpoint and a talent standpoint.
You know what my thing is? The fact that, I do agree. We have talent. Problem is, I just don't think we're being coached properly. I mean, we made the coaching change, and Callahan is trying to change it to his best to change the culture. The only way this culture is going to change is if we get Bruce. We can't do anything about the owner, Daniel Snyder. Obviously, he has to. I don't know how we get there. Oh, the only way we can change this culture is that we got to get Bruce Allen the hell out of here. Mm-hmm. I know you probably don't believe that Bruce is going anywhere because of what's going on with the stadium deal, and that he's a mouthpiece for Daniel Snyder, and that he handles all the stuff like the name controversy that pops up every year, the contracts and things of that, and like I said, the stadium deal, things of that nature. At some point, it's going to get to the point that Bruce is going to end up getting the hell out of here. Mm-hmm. That's just my opinion. I know you don't believe that, but I think Bruce's time could be coming to an end. It's just a matter of when.
Mm-hmm. And that ultimately may be the case. But until we start to see empirical proof, tangible evidence that is in fact the case, until you start hearing reports that Dan Snyder is getting fed up with Bruce and Dan Snyder is on his last legs with Bruce and Dan Snyder is tired of losing, until you start hearing those reports and you start to see that fracture and the cracks in that relationship starting to fester, until that starts to surface, then I won't believe it. I just won't.
Yeah, I understand your point. There have been a couple of things that I've been pretty surprised with. First of all, I'm very surprised with how well Eric Flowers played when we got him, because I was one of those people who's like, all right, we'll change him to guard, but I don't want him playing the tackle position. And I literally thought that he was going to be the worst offensive lineman we had on the team. Mm-hmm. He's been playing pretty outstanding since we got him. Maybe the move to guard may make him may turn around his career. You never know. And I do think that we still have some pieces. I do like the fact that I like what we're doing with Terry McLaurin. I think he's emerged as a number one wide receiver. He had a horrible game yesterday, but that's understandable. Every rookie, every player is going to have a bad game. I'm just amazingly surprised that we have only got one game out of Darius Geis already. And the good news, I'm hearing that he may be back maybe in about a week or two if Callahan can get him on the practice field. And I'm really pulling for Geis. You know what I mean? I hope the guy doesn't get hurt. I hope the guy doesn't have another major injury. I hope he can shed that label and be productive for us. And the same goes with Bryce Love when he comes back, whether that's this year or next year. We could have a pretty damn good running back tandem with Geis and Bryce Love if those two guys could stay healthy. And then, of course, there's, the matter of Dwayne Haskins when he's going to get on the field. And my personal opinion, I think we're going to see him, if we don't see him against the Bills week 9, which I think because we have a Thursday nighter against Minnesota, we're going to have 10 days to get him ready if Callahan does decide to go to the rookie. But if he doesn't at least start after the bye week against the Jets at home, then I just don't understand what they're doing. So I've had people say, don't play him this season because you're going to rattle his confidence and get him hurt behind this offensive line. And I'm like, bro, I just don't understand. You can't keep the bubble wrap on this kid for much longer. And I'm with you. The kid needs to play. And it just baffles me that this kid has, ever since the Giants game, he has not seen the field. But I do like the Haskins is getting first team reps. I think I'm with you, Lou. I think it may be time to turn the reins of the franchise over to this kid. I mean, it can't get any worse.
No, I've said it all along. I mean, I feel like I'm like a broken record. I keep saying the same thing over and over. I think everybody knows how I feel about the Haskins situation. I talked about it again on the Redskins Nightly News tonight, but at the end of the day, I think that the window is from week 9 to week 11. If you don't start him by then, I'm with you. At this point, I don't really know what you're waiting on. I don't at that point. And everyone knows that in order to get better, you have to play. You know, this whole mental reps, learning how to prepare. There's only so much of that you can do and actually have it work. And so at some point, you got to allow this man to get out on the field and play. And he's already come out and said, it'd be one thing if Haskins himself didn't want to play this year, but he's already come out and said, you heard the interview last week when he was with the media. He said, look, this whole notion that I can't prepare and that I don't know what's going on and that I'm not ready it's nonsense. It's ridiculous. That's what I do. I prepare to play every week. I study NFL defenses. This is what I do. I'm ready to play. So I know he's ready to play. So.
Yeah, I think my personal opinion is either they don't want to ruin his career this early, or they're just too stubborn. Is my opinion. I don't know what to believe in. But
if they're going in to if they're going in with the mindset that we can't play him because we're going to ruin him, then you drafted the wrong quarterback. Point blank, end of discussion.
That's my opinion. I want to see if this kid has that it factor that he can, that he can go in, that he can prepare for teams, that he can that he can get in the huddle, that he can command the offense, and read the defense, and dissect. He doesn't have to be a Peyton Manning or a Tom Brady or Ben Roethlisberger type of quarterback, even though he said it himself that he wants to be one of those guys that he wants to be in the conversation with, of a guy that you talk about for the next 50 years.
Right.
But he does have to go out there and he has to play. You don't see a lot of these young quarterbacks anymore. Even when Lamar Jackson was with Baltimore, that was a different situation because you knew Joe Flacco was on his last legs in Baltimore, and he had to spend the whole season looking over his shoulder with Lamar on the sideline. And then when he got hurt, immediately they just said, you know what, it's time for Lamar Jackson. It's time to move on from Joe Flacco. And we all saw how that turned out. But the only last true quarterback that got success from sitting for a whole season was Pat Mahomes, and Alex Smith in Kansas City. And Alex Smith there was no way Pat Mahomes was starting over Alex Smith, is my opinion. But you're not going to see young QBs sit the whole season anymore. Either the veteran's going to get hurt or he's going to stick the joint out. And right now, I understand that Case Keenum's not sticking the joint out, but he has not really all that impressed me either. No,
not at all. And I appreciate you chiming in, JP. We've hit our 8:15 deadline. Monday Night Football is about to take place, but I appreciate you chiming in and repping your squad, man.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very, very much. I'll see you up for Monday Night Football overtime.
No doubt. Sounds good. And I'm with JP, man. The biggest issue is Case Keenum. It's Colt McCoy. Like, what are we doing? As he mentioned, Alex Smith was playing at an MVP-like level the first 6 weeks of the season last year, and they won the division, and they played exceptional football. There was no reason to bench Alex Smith last year. Generally speaking, when young guys get in, it's because the guy in front of them gets hurt, which Case Keenum has already been hurt this year, or he stinks, and Case Keenum has stunk this year. Either way, the young guy is supposed to already be in the game, and for some reason in Washington, he's not. And I don't understand it. But in any event, I thank you guys for chiming in. We'll do this again next week, as we do every week, and I'll give you a chance to rep your squad. I'm your man, Louis T. Thank you for joining me. If it's not your man, T, it's not the best NFL coverage it could be. Until next time, you guys have a good one. Hopefully you'll join me later on tonight for Monday Night Football overtime. And you heard it here first. Patriots are going to lose tonight to the New York Jets. And I picked that on my sheet. So I'm not only telling you that, I'm backing it up with action. And I'll be here on this channel after the game is done, telling you I told you so, that they were going to suffer their first loss of the season at the hands of the New York Jets on Monday Night Football. And if I'm wrong, I'll be here and I'll be the first to tell you I was wrong. And you'll get to tell me I was wrong all night long as well. But in any event, I'm your man, Louis T, signing off. Thank you for joining me. Check out the Louis T Network podcast. New episode going to be up a little bit later on in the week, but the latest episode is up and available. You guys check that out. But until next time, thank you for joining me and continue to rep your squad. I'll see you guys next week.
Louis T Network.